Okay, this is part 2 of our tutorial on how to create a custom avatar using Make Human and Blender. We're now going to open up Blender and import the Make Human model that we created in the previous video. So I've got Blender open up. If you haven't got this software, just head over to the Blender website. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Download it. It's available for Mac or PC. It's a free download. And once you've downloaded it, you should be on the home screen, which looks something like this. By default, your home screen will include a basic object, a camera, and a light. We're going to delete those objects by selecting them and clicking on the delete key. And then we're going to import that collada file that we created in the previous video. So we'll go to File, Import, and we'll select the first option, which is collada. And we'll go to our desktop where we saved it and select our Make Human model. When you first bring it into Blender, you'll notice that it has no textures. We're currently in the Layout tab. In order to visualize the textures, you can click on the globe icons on the right-hand side, and that will bring up our textures in the Layout window. Or you could go into the Shading tab, and that will show you the textures with a default background. But we'll stay in the Layout option at the moment. You'll notice that it has imported everything successfully. However, we have a problem here, and that is the infamous black eye syndrome. And beyond, in fact, the eyebrows and eyelashes are all missing their textures, so we simply get a patch of black in all of those elements, which looks rather unattractive. So we're going to fix that up first of all. This may or may not happen during your import. It might depend on which version of Blender and which version of Make Human you're using, but certainly it's happened to me on numerous occasions. So I'm going to show you a fix for this and how to restore those textures. You can go into the Shading tab to perform this function, or you could stay in the Layout view and add a shading window, which is the way I like to do it. I've further customized the layout just to suit the way I like to visualize things on screen. So to do that, you can hover over the line at the base of the screen until you get the white arrow with the up and down arrow appear, and then right click and create a vertical split. And then you can move the line to any point in the viewport that you'd like to create your window. I'll go to the third mark here, and in fact I'll make it a little bit wider, and that will just duplicate the existing layout window. So I'm going to go to this icon at the top left hand corner, click on it, and I'm going to select a shader editor. And this is the screen in which I can add new textures and also fix the missing links that are creating this problem. So to move these panels around, simply hold on the middle mouse key and move them until you have them in place. So the first thing you need to do is go and make the selection on all of those elements. We'll do one at a time. So let's start with the eyes themselves. We'll click onto the eyes, and then in the shade editor window, we're going to grab the alpha output and connect it to the alpha input of the principled BSDF window. Then we're going to select the Materials Properties tab in this section on the right hand side, and we're going to scroll down to the Settings section, and we're going to change the blend mode from opaque to alpha blend, and then all of a sudden your eyes will appear. We're going to do the same for the eyebrows now. Grab the alpha, connect it, scroll down to the Settings section in the Material Properties window and select Alpha Blend, and we'll do exactly the same for the eyelashes. So now we have all of those textures reconnected onto our model, and we're ready to proceed to the next step. So that's our base model. The idea of bringing this into Blender is that you can create further customizations of that model. If you have advanced 3D skills, you can go in and add clothing, add new textures, and completely change the look of the model. For those of you just starting out and want a really simple and easy way to change the clothing and skin tone of the avatar, you can simply modify the texture files that were exported out of the Make Human software. These are going to be in the textures folder next to your original file. Click on the textures folder to open and you'll see we have eyebrows, eyelashes, eyes, clothing, a bump map for clothing. We have our skin tone, shoes, and teeth and tongue as well. So if you want to change the clothing on your model, you can open it up in a photo editor and go in and change everything on the 2D file and then re-import it into Blender. So I've already gone ahead and created a sample of a modified clothing map using Photoshop. This is my layout. I've completely changed the color of the top, added a logo, created some crazy looking snakeskin trousers, and we're ready to import that model. I've also got a skin map, which I've added some tattoos onto by simply laying them out on the 2D file. I haven't spent a lot of time perfecting this, but this should generally do the trick and give us that look of a sleeve, tattoo arm, and neck. And I've also put a tattoo on the forehead so we can see what that looks like on the model once we get back into Blender. So in order to update the Blender model, we're going to go back into Blender, make sure that you're in object mode. In the layout tab, click on the item of clothing. You'll find in this example, the t-shirt and jeans are joined as one item. We're going to click on the base color in the shader window, click on the folder icon, and then we're going to go to our desktop and we're going to select clothes number 4. And as you can see, we've now applied the new clothing to our avatar. When it comes to the skin, the arms and the head are all one item. So I've selected that in the object mode. We can go into our shader editor, click on the folder icon and click to the desktop where I've saved the Photoshop file as a PNG. Click on the skin and we've now got tattoos applied to our 3D model. So as you can see, by simply replacing these two textures, we've been able to completely and radically transform the appearance of this generic Make Human 3D character. The next thing I wanted to do was to add some hair. I mentioned that I didn't like the hairstyles in the Make Human software. So I actually have a 3D model of hair, which I'm going to add to show you how easy it is to make further customizations. I'm going to import that as an FBX file. I downloaded it from a 3D resource online. So we go to import FBX and go to the desktop, click on hair, and you can see that hair item appears on the screen. I'm just going to move the shader window so we can get more of a view of it. Click on the selection tool and we're going to drop it into place. That looks great, but as you can see, it doesn't really have any texture. It seems to be a default pink color. So with regards to the texture, we're going to go to the shader window again. In the object mode, click on the hair item, hold down the middle mouse button so that we can see the hair color tile. And this time I'm going to add a hair texture which I downloaded from a separate website. I'll show you on the desktop what it looks like. We've got a couple of hair textures here. This is a light brown, almost blonde hair texture, and this is a darker brown hair texture. So let's go back into Blender. Let's try both of those out. Click in the shader tab, click on the hair color, folder icon in the window, navigate to my desktop, select hair 1. That's pretty cool. Let's try hair 2. Select the folder icon. There's our hair 2. I would have to say for this particular model, hair 2 is probably going to be better. I can see there's a little gap here, so I'm just going to drop that down further. Maybe move it across a touch. Yeah, I really like that. So now we have our customized avatar that includes unique clothing and also a unique hairstyle created in another 3D program. Let's get a better look by removing the shader window. I'm going to click on the vertical line in the middle of the screen, and I'm going to select join areas, click on the arrow on the left, and that gives us a full view of our layout window so we can see what our avatar looks like. I'll just use the middle mouse wheel, hold down and scroll around to get a full rotational view of our avatar. That looks really cool. I'm very happy with that. And now I'm ready for the final step of adding a human rig to this avatar so that I can use it in software such as VRChat or Somnium Space as a fully movable 3D avatar. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the Add menu on the top here, and we're going to add armature. You can select the human meta rig, or you could select the basic human meta rig. We're going to go with the basic model to save time, and I found that the human meta rig, the full rig, is a little bit too complicated and more than is needed for any of these virtual avatar environments. And we are going to create some armature, which is the bones, the human bones, that allows you to move your avatar around in Blender or in any other 3D application, and certainly is used when you're creating a 3D avatar. So to do that, we are going to go to the Add menu at the top of the screen. We are going to select armature. We won't select the human meta rig, we'll select the basic human meta rig, which is a very simple armature and all we're going to need for this demonstration. And now we can see that that has been placed pretty much in the center of our avatar. We can move it across a little bit just to make sure it's right in the middle. So to edit the bones, we're going to click on the armature that's being created. It's called Meta Rig here in the collection window. We're going to select edit mode, and then we're going to select this arrow in the top right hand corner here, select tools and X-axis mirror. This is really useful because when we make an edit on one side of the armature, it will apply it on the other side. And this is a real time-saving feature. Before we do that, we're going to hold down the S key and we're going to scale the armature by moving the mouse up a little bit and get it to be the right size. So to help us determine the size, we're going to have a look at our armature within the model. At the moment, it's hidden, so we're going to go to the Object Properties icon. We're going to scroll down to Viewport Display, and then we're going to select in front. So now we can see our skeleton clearly inside our avatar. So that's looking pretty good. I can tell that it's a little bit small, so we're going to select the avatar, hold down the S key on the keyboard and move the mouse up just to make it a little bit larger, and then use the blue arrow key and to push it down on the Z axis and put it into place. That looks pretty good in terms of the sizing. So to edit the armature's position, we're going to go from object mode to edit mode. But before we do that, click on the armature itself, then click edit mode. And now we can select the armature, shift select if you want to select more than one. And we can rotate it and use the arrow to move it up, and use the right arrow to move it across. So that looks pretty good there. And we can move these bones across a little bit and down, and move these ones across and down. We can grab the ankle to the knee and we can move that across. And we can lower the knees a little bit. That's our front view. Let's rotate to the left. We can see that there's room for improvement here in terms of the alignment. If we grab the ankles again, lower them a little bit, push them in and line them up so they kind of fit right in the middle of that ankle region. And as you can see, those arms need to be adjusted. So we're going to go to the view, viewport top view mode, and we're going to push those arms in until they line up. Rotate this top bone, select them all, click on each point of the bone until you feel that it's lining up perfectly. Get those wrist bones into position. And as you can tell, I'm clicking on one bone on one side of the body and the other side is replicating the behavior because we clicked on the X-axis mirror option earlier. So that's looking pretty good there. Let's just join those bones up there. I think that's a pretty good looking rig. We've got all of our main bones connected. Everything's lining up. When I rotate around the avatar, I can see that it's all come together very well, and that should animate very nicely in our 3D program of choice and when we convert it to an actual avatar. Actually, I'll see that these bones are a little bit low. I'll lift them up. There we go. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, that's not the end of the process. The final thing we need to do is to actually connect our avatar to those bones and join all of the elements of our avatar so they become one. So even though we have everything in place, we still haven't connected our armature to our model. So if you go into pose mode, zoom in a little bit and click on one of the bones, and let's select this rotate tool. You'll notice that when we move the bones around, they're not yet connected. So the next step is to connect this meta rig or our bones to the actual model itself. So in order to do that, we are going to go back into object mode. We're going to hide this armature for a moment by clicking on the view mode icon in the scene collection window. We're going to select all of the items. We're going to show the armature again. We're going to shift select the armature, and we're going to hit Control P simultaneously on the keyboard. And in the drop down menu, you have a number of options. We're going to select with automatic weights. It might take a few seconds to apply that armature to all of those items. And now we're going to go back into the pose mode and run a quick test. And as you can see, when we select the rotation tool, the bones are actually moving the avatar as you would expect. So I'm just going to hide the armature for a moment. And the final step is to join all of these elements before exporting. This is good practice as it tends to keep all those elements of your avatar together when you bring it into Unity or any other application. So what we're going to do now is join all of those groups. So in order to join everything, we simply make a selection around all objects, and we can right click or use Control J to join. But as you can see, when we do this, we've lost some of our UV maps, some of those images on aspects of our avatar. So we're missing the clothing, we're missing the eyes, eyebrows, the shoes. We've only maintained one of the textures. So in order to avoid doing that, we just need to go into the UV map of each object and name them all the same. So the UV map can be found in the right-hand side here. It's an upside down green triangle. Click on the UV maps drop down and go and name all of your UV maps the same. So I'm going to call them human. Don't forget these smaller objects, the eyebrows, the eyes, and the eyelashes. Okay, so now that we've named all of our UV maps over here in the right-hand side to the same name, in this case human, I can select them all and I can right-click and I can join or Control J, and that has been successfully joined with all the UV maps maintained. You know that the item has been joined because if you click anywhere on that model, you get a singular outline rather than individual outlines over each component. So we now have our model joined. We'll turn on the meta rig. We'll go into pose mode one more time, just to make sure everything's working properly. And yes, even after our join, everything seems to be just fine. Okay, yeah, that looks to be pretty good to me. So that's all you need to do to get a basic customization of your Make Human avatar in Blender. Now, the final step in the process is to export it out to the FBX file format so that we can bring it into Unity. And Unity is the hub that allows us to upload our avatars to popular VR or metaverse spaces such as VR Chat and Somnium Space. So we're going to be covering that in the next video, and I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit me up with a like and consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you on that next video.